Funding for The Rotor Workshop is provided in part by Hitachi Power Tools, manufacturers of a full range of construction and woodworking power tools. Our jewelry and lingerie chest is almost complete. In this, the third episode in the series, we craft the jewelry case itself. Bob will show you how to craft a jig for mortising the top and bottom, while Rick cuts perfect combination joints for the box and adds a decorative mold to the top and bottom. That's on part 3 of the jewelry and lingerie chest. Next, right here in the Rotor Workshop.
Welcome to the Работа Workshop, and this is the third part of a 4-part series, and we're doing the jewelry case today. So what's going on today, Dad?
Well, we need to make the case to hold the drawers and hold the mirrors, Rick.
Right.
And if you would do the mortising in the top and the bottom of these and mold them, I'll do these parts with the tenants on them. And they got some other little features on there.
I'll just roll it around this side here. We've got a 45 on here that takes away all the end grain, so that's pretty neat. That's what you're doing.
We'll do that.
All right, I'm going to go set up and cut the mortises for the top and the bottom, and you get set up for doing your 45s. Now let's go ahead and get this mortise set up. First off here, what we want to do is look at the router. And to start off, I've got a 1/4-inch bit and a guide in here. The guide's going to follow our pattern. The bit's going to cut the mortise. We've already got the depth set. We've already got the bit put in place. Let's go ahead now and cut it. All right. Every once in a while it gets plugged up, so what you have to do is just tip it and clean out your grooves or your mortises. There we are, we're starting. We need to clear out a little more here. Let me get my pencil here so we can clean it out. We'll get it all cleared out and then we'll just finish the cut here. And let's dump it out a little more here. Slip her back down in place here and let's get it right there. Perfect. All right, let's finish the cut. Before you take it off, what you need to do is check to make sure that you got it all cleaned up, because you really don't want to come back after and try and have to reset it up again to make that fit. All right. This is not too bad, so it can come off and go on very easily because of the roll pins. But there's our first one. Now let's go ahead and bring it over and get the other one, which is our top. All right, now we got to do the top. The thing that's important here is that we have, on the bottom we had this way. What we have to do is make it a left and a right. And so what we need to do is flip over the roll pins. We need to get our hammer now. And you remember when you were I used to have one of these when I was in kindergarten, where all you needed to do is pound the pins back. That's why this jig works real good for me, because I can pound the pins back. And you pound the pins, and basically once you do this, you've got yourself a left and a right. And we'll slide this over here, find out where our edge is. There we go. And now what we've got is the left side. Now, if your pattern's right on the numbers, it's not a big deal, but I know I can't make a pattern just exactly the same, so I have to make sure that I've got left and right. All right, let's go back and route the rest of these out. Got to clean it out every once in a while. Let's get the dirt out of there. Put it back down in. And let's finish the cut. Now let's see what we got here. And it looks like we've got this one pretty good. We're all ready to go. The next step we need to do is mold the edges. And I'm going to start with the bottom. So I'll set this aside right now. We're going to have to change the router here for a minute. Unplug the portable router. And let's move it off the way. And then we'll work on the stationary one. So we'll move this router out of the way. Take off our sub table. Set it aside. I need to set the height up. So we're going to set the height of the bit up so that we can make the next cut. Lock it down in place. Because we're using straight pieces, we're going to use a fence. Put the fence over here, line it up. We'll slip the clamp down on the one side, tighten it down. Then all we need to do is isolate that bearing. And let's make sure that fence is over here. Get a stick here so we can isolate the bearing. And let's just make sure we got it right. Okay. And I'm going to flip this one over on this side here so we can work with it. And let's take a look here now. On the bottom, we need it molded on this side. On the top, we need it on the other side. So I'm going to start with the bottom, and let's mold it. Again, we need to plug it in, make all your setups. Right? Let's make the cut. All right, there's the bottom mold all finished. I'll pass that on to Dad so we can get the mortises right, and I'll finish the top.
Now, we need to get some materials here. Rick has already handed me this piece, and we've got the dado in the center of it. That's going to pick up our center piece. Now, I'm going to have these two outside ones. Maybe we'll just stand them up in here. Those are the two pieces that are going to be 45'd into the front. This one lays inside and has a tenon on the end to fit into it. However, before we do that, if you look at these pieces, they are different lengths. And the reason for that is we've got two of the outside ones are a little longer, and that has to be because they have to extend to the outside edge. This one's shallow because of the dado inside. So I want to lay that away because what really happens lots of times, you'll end up cutting a 45 on it, and that's what you don't want. So we'll put that out of the way so we don't get them mixed up. And the other pieces are the ones we're going to cut. So what do we want to use to do that with? Well, we will use a bit for that. And the bit that we're going to use in here happens to be a 45. That is, it's a taper on it, 90 across the top, 45 on either side. So we'll chuck that up. Now, as you can all see that I'm going to do there's quite a bit of material to move. And when we do this, we may do it in a couple of stages. And I'm going to show you why we want to do that. Most times you'd set it up and just cut it, but let's just show you what I got in mind here. Now, I'll put that back over here so you can have a peek at it. There is the bit that comes up inside, and we'll just pop it in. The height of the bit is relationship to the fence location so that the 45 comes out on a feather edge at the top edge. When we put this together inside of here, you've got a cutter on either one in it. I'm going to set the height that I've got because that's maximum that bit will cut, and I'll do the adjusting on the fence instead. So we'll just drop that into place in here, set it down, and we need a fence. Now the fence system that I have here, I had a piece of tape on it from before. We'll just remove that, and I'll probably get over to the edge in it. When we put something like this involved in here, we want to ride on the edge of it in it. I'll be able to move that fence ahead or back inside. So we're going to fasten a clamp at the end, and I probably should have a little room there for it to run. I'm going to make sure that I got clearance. So when I say by sure clearance, I'm going to swing this into the cutter and let it cut its own slot in it. So we need some power in here. And we'll plug that in. And away we go. I mentioned we're going to take this in stages in it, and as I move ahead, I get less exposing of the bit. One of the reasons to do that is not because probably it wouldn't cut it, but my problem that I'm running into here is that I probably haven't got enough room for all the chips to get out. If you don't get the chips out, they go around the second time, and that makes a real bulky cut out of it. We also need is a push stick. We need a push stick to handle that, and it's got a little piece on the back end with a shoe on it and rides down. See, with a bit like that, because of its shape, what it has a tendency to do is ride up on the cutter. So what you need to do is hold pressure down. Now, let's get these pieces together here again, and if you have a face side or one that looks better than the other, it's the one on the top side this time that's going to show, so that's the best side that you should pick. So I'll just use my pencil in here. We'll put a little bit of an X on each one, and this one I don't have to because it's already got the dado on the inside, and we'll go by here. Now, here's going to be a problem, and we might get a little tear out, but remember that's on the end of the tenon. So it really doesn't matter on that tear out. It's not going to show anyway. And our little stick hanging over the top here will help provide quite a cushion for that as well. We've got power in here. Let's make the first cut. There's the tear out that I was talking about. There's that 45. Now we need to do is the other two pieces in here, and we got one on either end. Then I'll set it down and make it come to a feather edge. So we'll lay that one over and continue. Keep in mind again, always keep that down. That's the inside of the box, and we want this to a feather edge. So what I'm going to do is just move that fence out. As I move the fence out, the cutter will come up here tighter to the side. Now, I'm going to be just about exactly what I want in here. Maybe I'll get my fine adjusting tool out here and just move that just like that. Should just be... What I'm looking is where the point's coming in relationship to the fence in here. So let's run them through. Now that makes a real nice 45. I don't know if you're like me or not, but sometimes we end up with a 45 that's almost 45. Then it's never square in here. When you've got a bit that's ground exactly right, you know you're on. You're not setting anything to get it. Now, when we fit those two pieces together here, well, I can just show you whatever piece that you have in it. And there's that little furry edge that I said that would come up off side of it. But we'll look after that. We get a really nice snug fit with it. Now, the trick this time is that I've got to fit these down in the mortises that Rick has done in there, and I need to know the width of it. Here's what we're doing. Take this clamp off now because I've got to make a bit change anyway, and let me explain to you what we're trying to do here. There's a couple of little operations, and I'll drop that bit down, fence out of the way. All we need to do, it has to have a tenon on the bottom side as well as the top, and it has to fit down into this one. The same with this divisional one in the center here. We got a centerpiece coming, but it's got to drop in, so we got tenons top and bottom. Our centerpiece that we've got here, it comes into play now. We've got a tenon top and bottom of it also. I'm going to leave a couple of little operations. There's two more things that we need to contend with, but those are the first things we'll do. So let's set up a different cutter system, and there's my guide to go by. That's what Rick's put the holes in there, so I got to get something to fit them. Now, remember, we change a bit again. What we do is we make sure we unplug it. And we'll check this out. And the cutter that I'm going to use this time is going to be a rabbiting bit. And that rabbiting bit is a 3/8 rabbiting bit. It has a bearing on it, which we're not going to really use inside of it. And it's got a 3/8 cutter. So that is, it's 3/8 from the edge of the cutter to the bearing. So we'll chuck it up. Once we get that in tight, and remember, people, put your router bits right to the bottom, and then pull them up about a 1/16 and tighten them. Now we'll set it down. And again, we'll lock this inside, set it up. Now, what are we going to do about height? what we've allowed for, when Rick cut these mortises in there, what he's done is cut them a 1/4 inch deep. So our tenons that fit into them are also going to have to be a 1/4. So we'll use our little brass setup bar here, and that's how high we want to be. So we'd be right up there to that 1/4 inch, set it in, automatically done it, all set up. Now, we got to have some kind of control here, so we'll go back here and use a fence again, and we'll put a clamp on the end. Now, the clamp that we've got in here, set it up inside of it. What else do we do with that? Well, what I'm trying to do is we're trying to center this in it. What I need in here is I've got about 3/8 of an inch. We got about 3/8 of an inch, we got 3/4. So that leaves us a spot in it. About 3/16 is what we're trying to do in it. So I've got a couple of brass pieces here. I've got a 3/16 piece, and that cutter now should be 3/16. So we'll start with that, and I'll rotate that cutter. I'll lay that brass piece on here and just move that fence out exactly to that thickness of that bar, and we'll tighten that into place. Now that's the distance. And what I'm doing is I'm standing these up this time. So I'm going in this direction, I'm going to turn it around, come back. What's left should fit in that mortise that we've got there. Okay, I'm going to tap that ahead. Remember, you can add that, you can put lumber and take it off with a bit. It's tough to add on. So we'll just sneak a little here to make sure we get a good fit. It doesn't need to be too tight. You need a little bit of room there to get your 45s to come true anyway. So now we'll pop this in here and plug it in, and we're away. Now, take that block out of here. There's those mortises that we were talking about, and here's the kind of fit. There's that 45, and we need those to fit right down inside of there. You can see I got that to work. Now, what I'm going to do is do top and bottom of all those pieces, and along with the center one. However, at the center one's a little different, and when I get to it, I'll stop and tell you why I made a little different with it. Now, I've only got the center one to do. This applies to everything you're routing, people. You always do the end grain first. This time I have to do it along the end here, and I also have to do top and bottom. So always do the end first. So I'll stand it up, do the end, then I'll do the two sides. Now, there's the pin on the back side you're intended to go in, and here's the one on the face side, up top and one on the bottom. Now, we're not done yet. It's funny how this little case that we're doing here has so many operations. It's a very small thing, but it's not so small when it comes to fit together. Now, here's our problem. When we put these pieces in here like that, they're going to butt up to that mortise that Rick has cut in it, and the bit leaves a round cavity, so we're going to have to cover it. So what we're going to do is notch the ends of these. We don't have to change the height of the bit. or any location. We just have to notch these front sides so it goes over here. I'm going to cut one, and then I'll stop and show you what we were doing here. Get my little push stick. We'll lead it on the back side. Always leave them the same direction. Now let's go back here again. Remember the round edge we've got. We got this little round edge in the front side here. And when we put this down inside like that, see how it slides over and it covers it up. That's what we're after. We like to cover that up inside of it, and that has to be top and bottom. Now, there's a couple other little things going to come in here, but we'll just cut the rest of these. Now, I've got only these to do. The back piece is in here. This back one doesn't need it because it's got a 45 on each end, but the two side pieces do, so we'll do those. Now, we've got one final operation. I'm going to take this off of here, and I want to show you what else is in here. This is a little hand operation. I imagine you could figure out a way to use a router in it, but it's so little to do, and yet it's so important that you have to look and see here. Remember again what we did. When Rick come down again, when he mortised this out, the bit leaves a little round tab in it. On the inside edge, it's always square, but on these outside corners, it's round. Now, when we come up here, with this bit that left the round one, this one leaves a tough thing. And if you look at it, it's a real sharp corner, right? Now, when I slide that up into the corner, what it does is hits down into that before it can extend over. There's not enough room. So what we need to do is we need to take and cut that little corner off. We need to just take that little chip off of there to allow it. And what I've just chosen to do with that is just use a chisel to do it with. And you just need to stop that inside of here. Put the chisel down in the corner and just tap that down. Now, the corner's gone from it, and then when you put this in here, it allows it to slide by and pick up the right length.
Now it's time for tips from the workshop, viewer mail, and tricks of the trade on Router Bits Tips and Wood Chips.
Our tip for today is making the mortise jig. Let's take a look at it. First off, we'll roll it over here. We're using these little roll pins here to go ahead and position it in the right place. And this gives us two things. This gives us right and left by just pounding them through. We get the left, pound them the other way, we get the right, or vice versa. But let's take a look at how we made it to begin with. So we'll flip it back over here. All we did was use little building blocks, and once you've laid out exactly what you want to do, what you're going to use is, and in this case here, we use a 1/4-inch flush trim bit. We're going to put the pieces in position right where the lines are, where you've drawn them. Put the next one in place, and you can start seeing it come together here. We'll slide down the back piece, put the two side pieces in place here. And again, these are all nailed in place with little finish nails. And put the last one in place, drill one hole in it, and use your 1/4-inch flush trim bit to follow around the outside edge of this, and it'll make the pattern exactly what you're looking for.
Well, we got all the pieces here, Rick. Let's see how they fit.
I've got this, the top molded anyways.
Okay,
All right.
You need that one. And I'm going to give you the center one.
All right. And we'll slide this piece in here to get ourselves a fit. See how this one fits.
Before we put the top on, maybe we could have a close-up down here and just see where this little corner was that we cut out of here, eh?
Right.
You see that one? That one's going to clear there?
Well, that's what makes it fit.
If it don't, it's not going to fit down the top there.
Now,
I'll let you do that.
You should dry fit everything before you put glue on it, folks, too. That's where we get this done here. And it fits. All we have left now is the drawers and the mirror. Folks, there's always something interesting going on around here, so make it a date. Join us next time right here in the Router Workshop.
We'd like to hear from you. You can email us at the address on your screen. Send your comments, questions, or project ideas to the Router Workshop, Post Office Box 608, Chamberlain, South Dakota 57325. Or in Canada, the Router Workshop, Post Office Box 280, Ely, Manitoba ROH-OHO. To learn more about the Router Workshop, visit us at the internet address on your screen. With the completion of the unique Queen Anne base, the lingerie case, and the jewelry box, our jewelry and lingerie chest is almost complete. In the fourth and final episode, we'll crown the piece with the ornate mirror. Bob will show you how to cut dovetails across a 45-degree miter. That's all on Part 4 of the jewelry and lingerie chest. Next time, right here in the Router Workshop. Funding for The Router Workshop is provided in part by Hitachi Power Tools, manufacturers of a full range of construction and woodworking power tools. For $16.99 plus $4.99 shipping and handling, you can order Bob and Rick Rosenthal's The Router, a 130-page book which includes a plan to build the router table and bench, plus numerous tips, techniques, and educational information. Call 1-800-803-1449.